Welcome back, everyone, for some more Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, and we are ready to end Case 4 here, which is the Cosmic Turnabout, and we are gonna be continuing listening to the testimony of Yuri Cosmos, and we're on the cusp of getting a non-guilty verdict for our client, Solomon Starbuck. But before we do that, hope you guys have an awesome day today. Hope you guys doing well. So without further ado, let's hear this history-making testimony that Yuri Cosmos has in store for us. Info update. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. Well, let's pinpoint happiness. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. You make it sound like you were reluctant to do so, and yet when you did it, you felt some joy as if you were very pleased with yourself. Ah. Well, how did you do it? How do you do it? How do you know everything as if it were there? Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of analytical psychology. So, care to explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock? When I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point, I have to believe that you were trying to fulfill some hidden agenda. How do you know about that, too? Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing. But you have no proof that I had a hidden agenda. And even if I did, I would never ever tell you, so there. I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake. And how could you doubt a man with such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity?
Silence!
You? A man of integrity? Don't make me laugh. But Prosecutor Blackwell? What came over him all of a sudden? You've spouted nothing but falsities since you stepped up to that stand. You're not the kind of man that will be glorified in the annals of history. Not for greatness, anyway. Unless you consider greatness bare-faced liar an honor. Liar? Go. His words bite harder than his blade. You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions? My, how naive you are. You fail to recognize how even the facts themselves have betrayed you. You know, just a thought, but modern English can be your friend. And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge 1 side. The police confirmed this on scene. What? Liar? So that means the director didn't move the launch pad? Curse my judgment for calling history's greatest liar to the witness stand. Let us leave him to indulge in his lies and war games to his heart's content. Liar?
Objection!
But it doesn't make sense. You can't deny that someone turned that knob. And once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad must have went somewhere. If we trace down the truth of this issue, we just might find where the killer escaped to. You're sure it must have went somewhere? We just might find out? Your arguments are nothing but conjecture, bluffing, and wishful thinking. Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, or are you not man enough to, boy? Wow. Talk about hitting below the belt. You're youngins these days. I don't understand it. I'm sure Director Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge, but the launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Ah. Wait a minute. Maybe I have it all backwards. What if the director turned the knob, not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be? What are you blathering about? What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident, and then after the incident, Director Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot? All he had to do was turn the knob to call the launch pad back, and it would be right where the police found it. Made him sigh like Mr. Starbuck. Was that what I said really that off base? It pains me to have to explain how wrong your own logic is to you. However, a great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our Astro Wonders made their escape. A fact that has been recorded for posterity on filmless film. Oh, right. So, to reiterate, stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, boy. Get a grip, Mr. Wright, and focus. We know the launch pad must have been moved. But our deductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction to each other. Well, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with body doubles after the incident or something. On second thought, that's too far-fetched even for me. Never actually boarded the rocket? Hey, wait a minute! Maybe, just maybe... Huh? Prosecutor Blackwell, what if I told you that the two astronauts never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went into another place? And what if when the director moved Launch Pad 1 back, it was not for the launch site, but from another place? What would you say then? Cut the existential bull or I'll cut you. Mr. Wright, you explain yourself at once. I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Very well, Your Honor. Let me explain. Director Cosmos' reason for moving Launch Pad 1 was... Just give me a moment. Dr. Cosmos' reason for moving Launch Pad 1 was to switch it with another place. Because he wanted to switch it with some other place. I'm sorry, but did you say switch it? What would he possibly have switched the launch pad with? Oh, you'd be surprised, Your Honor. All it takes is a little thinking outside the box and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what was switched with Launch Pad 1. Well, it happens to be the Space Museum.
Take that!
Launch Pad 1 was switched with the Space Museum? In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launch Pad 2. It has all the same features as Launch Pad 1 and can even be moved to the launch site, meaning the Space Museum and Launch Pad 1 can also be switched with each other. Well, you can't mean... The rocket the astronauts boarded was not the one in Launch Pad 1. There was the one in the Space Museum. What? Balderdash. And yet, it's the only explanation that accounts for every riddle and inconsistency. This is how the Space Center was just before the incident. I see Launch Pad 1 and the Space Museum have already switched places. That's right. And with the two switched like this, the astronauts entered the Space Museum from the boarding lounge 1. This allowed the true killer to enter Launch Pad 1 from boarding lounge 2 and set the bomb on the rocket. Come to think of it, the door to the Space Museum from boarding lounge 2... Welcome, welcome. The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Exactly. Anyone could pass through the door to the Space Museum. There is no fingerprint recognition system on that door. In other words, with the two launch pads switched like that, someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. After setting the bomb on the rocket, the culprit snuck into the boarding lounge 1 and waited there, concealed, in order to kill Mr. Terran when the two astronauts emerged from the Space Museum. Recall that Miss Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director all saw a suspicious figure, who, we can suppose after killing Mr. Terran, made their escape into the Space Museum. After that, Director Cosmos switched two launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. The killer then left the Space Museum and made a clean getaway. Right, Dono. I see you know how to handle a sword and handle it well. Perhaps I should call you Sword Master Bluff? I'm a seasoned warrior who has cut down many a prosecutor.
Silence.
But unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword. That's right, you have no proof I switched launch pads. Somebody needs a better anger management counselor. If launch pads really were switched, then there might be a record of it somewhere. At this point, Launch Pad 1 and the Space Museum were switched with each other, so the corridor beyond the doors should be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see. This is the image of Launchpad 1 corridor. Do you see anything different when we compare it to security footage? Huh? That number on the floor. Well, what do you know? It looks like we have proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell. And this is just another bluff? Oh, don't worry. It's all right here. Right in this footage. Oh, I see it. Proof that beyond this door is the corridor of the Space Museum. Very well then. Answer this for me if you would. What in this footage proves that the corridor belongs to the Space Museum? Well, we mentioned numbers, so it would be this number right here.
Take that!
There's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. But take a look at the floor of the corridor in the security footage. Do you see the number on the floor behind the astronauts? It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2. What? Why is it a 2 and not a 1? That's because the corridor you see is the one to the Space Museum. And so that means the corridor in this footage was not filled with smoke. That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. The explosion occurred on Launchpad 1 on the side opposite the Space Museum. And now that we know the 2 astronauts escaped from the Space Museum, the mystery from the previous trial of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Terran, carrying Mr. Starbuck, simply took the elevator from the upper level down to the middle level. Just incredible. The 2 launch pads were actually switched. But you'd think someone would have noticed an event of this magnitude. Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pads were swapped back. There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. And that brings down noise level to 0%. That's exactly what we want to see. There we go. Oh, I guess we can... Sorry. Bye-bye. No more lies to Director Cosmos. Hey there, OP Sonic. It's high time you told us the truth. My honor, my glory, everything is slipping away. Time to deploy my ultimate weapon. Galactic engine. Ignition. What? It's gone haywire. It won't stop. Gah. My stars. My glory. Ah. No, not that way. Bailiff, on your steed and after that witness. I see we managed to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm. Director Cosmos, do you admit you switched the launch pads? I admit it's true. I switched launch pad 1 for the Space Museum. Oh, it is good to hear words I can believe for a change. Before you do, Your Honor, 2 things. First, we don't know if Mr. Terran had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of his surroundings thanks to his medication. Either way, Mr. Terran would have realized the instant he stepped into the Space Museum that it had been switched with Launch Pad 1. So my first question is, if Space Museum was perfectly fine, why did Mr. Terran feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? Hey there, Epic Crossover. As for my second question, I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the 2 launch pads to begin with. Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast. The director is terrified. He must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why. Probably not a good time to try to pry it out of him, huh? Excuse me, but would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge of rank, I'm nothing. I don't see why not. Bailiff, help the director retrieve his stars. It appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself. Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you wish to say? I don't get it. Don't get it? What don't you get? Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you? You tricked us! Mr. Starbuck. Starbuck, my boy, I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why, but I had to do it to protect the Space Center. Director, will I ever get the chance to go into space again? Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. I will get you into space again, my boy. Then the dream is still alive.
Silence.
You're not going to space, Starbuck. But prison, I won't have it any other way. Why are you so hung up on him? Yes, I accept that the launch pads really were switched, and if they were a third person at the scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I have yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum. Oh, that's a good point. He's right. I don't have any proof. Starbuck, you will spill everything you know. What? Me? Where did you get those bombs? Tell me now. If you don't, my blade shall feast on your blood. If I'm gonna die, I want to die in space. I have to do something. Solomon Starbuck, prepare yourself. Now, you know violence isn't the answer, Rescue Black Quill. That annoyingly cheerful laugh. It could be none other than... Oh, hey there, Fulbright. Champion of Righteousness, Bobby Fulbright here. In justice we trust. The Detective Fulbright? Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. I hope I'm not too late. I don't believe we had an appointment. I tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady cross the street. And then I had to break up a cat fight. I tell you, justice sure is a full-time job. Was it a fight between cats, or... Why are you here again? Because the defendant isn't the culprit, and I came to make sure that justice is served. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Fulbright, I always thought you were a bit touched in the head. But have you finally succumbed? Nope, but it looks like you've succumbed to this phantom of yours. Open your eyes and let the evidence of justice uncloud your judgment. What evidence? Come to think of it, he did say something about finding us some evidence. Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm gonna work extra hard to find that perfect piece of evidence for you. He did say that. I didn't think he was serious, though. So, what is it, Detective? Is it something that will prove Mr. Starbuck innocent? It is indeed. Have a look at this. What's this? A lighter? That's right. A lighter thought to have been used by the culprit, no less. The Space Museum's cleaning robot picked it up. It has the victim Clay Tarrant's blood, along with his killer's fingerprints on it. What? Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, can I assume that the fingerprints don't belong to the defendant? You bet! Mr. Starbuck is totally innocent. This is it! This is just what I needed. Lighter added to the court record. The lighter found on the floor of the Space Museum. The true culprit's fingerprints on it in the victim's blood. Your Honor, this is decisive evidence that supports the defense's earlier claim. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. With pleasure, Your Honor. Recall where this lighter was found. Based on that, we can extrapolate that after the killer murdered Mr. Terran, they escaped with lighter in hand into the Space Museum, where they dropped it. The switching of the two launch pads occurred. Then, finally, the killer left through Boarding Lounge 2 and made the escape. Meanwhile, Mr. Starbuck was found in Boarding Lounge 1 after the murder, a fact that Director Cosmos has testified to. Therefore, Mr. Starbuck couldn't have possibly been the one that dropped the lighter there.
Silence.
Ah, but the defendant had free reign of the area until Director Cosmos appeared. Could he not have dropped the lighter in the Space Museum during that span of time?
Objection!
You'd like that to be true, wouldn't you? But Director Cosmos testified that right after he saw the mysterious figure with a lighter, he went into the lounge and found the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. In other words, Mr. Starbuck wouldn't have had the time to double back to the museum. No, Prosecutor Blackwell, this lighter could only have been dropped by the real killer. Excuse me. Most importantly, Mr. Starbuck's fingerprints were nowhere to be found on this lighter. I think you understand what this means, don't you? This piece of evidence unequivocally proves that Mr. Starbuck wasn't the culprit. This does indeed appear to be decisive evidence that proves the defense's claims. As for the remote switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, we can assume it was planted by the killer on the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. No. There must be some mistake. Frankly, Prosecutor Blackwell, I've been worried about you. You've been chasing this phantom for 7 whole years. I understand your urgency because tomorrow...
Silence.
Fulbright, you promised never to speak of that. Huh? Tomorrow? What about tomorrow? Given the body of evidence, I think it's safe to say the defendant is innocent. In light of the fact that it was impossible for him to have committed a crime. Hey there, Toronto. A few unanswered questions remain, so I look forward to seeing what you two uncovered. But for now, this court finds defendant, Solomon Starbuck, not guilty. Well, we did it. Yes, we did it, Mr. Wright. Looks like we pulled it off somehow, huh? With some help from Detective Fulbright. Mr. Wright, Miss Sykes, thank you, and please thank Apollo for me, too. You all are the best. Oh, I wish we could tell Apollo about Mr. Starbuck's verdict right now. Yeah, me too, but that's gonna have to wait. Now the verdict has been reached, I'd like to bring today's trial to a close. Court is adjourned.
Objection!
It's too late to object, isn't it? It simply isn't possible. Something's wrong. Prosecutor Blackwell, are you dissatisfied with the verdict? Fulbright, what were the results of the fingerprint analysis for the lighter? Huh? The results? Well, I was in a hurry, you see, and then there was that cat fight, and well, I kind of got carried away when I heard the prints weren't Mr. Starbucks, so... You have yet to read it? Prosecutor Blackwell, can you read out who the prints belong to? Upon thorough analysis, the fingerprints were found to belong to Athena Sykes. So says the report. What? What? Huh? Not me? Oh, that's a bombshell. Order, I say. Order. Miss Sykes, tell me you have an explanation for this. We just finished proving that this lighter could only belong to the killer, so finding your print on it can only lead us to one grave conclusion. I don't know how they got on there, but I know I'm not the culprit. Well. This can't be happening. We built up our argument piece by piece, and I don't think any of our reasoning was faulty. So how could it have led to this? Later updated in the court record, evidence found by Detective Fulbright. It has Athena's prints on it and the victim's blood. What have I done? Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, stop your crying! What in the world is happening here? It's like the world's gone mad. Order! Order! I will have order! Wow. Confusion spiraled into utter chaos. After all we'd fought for, the truth had turned cruelly on us to accuse Athena of the crimes. Somewhere, somehow, everything had gone terribly wrong. We had stumbled over the evidence of reason and into the jaws of a twisted darkness. And with that concludes Case 4, Cosmic Turnabout. And you guys are going to be seeing the beginning of the next case tomorrow, but I'm actually going to be taking some time off here off camera just to get myself going here, gather myself, I should say, and I'll be recording the 5th case, which is the final case in the main game, but it's the next to last in this trilogy right here. But we are going to go ahead and, like I said, you guys will be seeing the beginning of the next case, which is Turnabout for tomorrow, but I'll be taking a day off, not a day off, I'll be taking some time, maybe about a week or two off, because there is other content on my channel I do want to record first, and I do want to take a break from this because I've recorded the last case and this case straight through, so I do want to get myself a little bit of a break, that way I don't get burnt out from Ace Attorney. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching this. Hope you guys are enjoying this series so far, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to the 5th case, which is Turnabout for tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be getting straighten things out with what's happened here, this bombshell evidence that just came forth. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys again next time.